Did you know that GBTC is nearly done selling, and that means that Bitcoin is poised to bounce from here to new all-time highs? It not even going to stop right there. It's going to go to all-time new heavens, actually. And that is a narrative going across the market right now. I don't know where this is actually coming from. Probably based in some sort of, objective measurements, but the sort of subjective interpretation of it is where these sort of narratives do come into collusion with reality a lot of the time. And I wanted to discuss that particular topic on this particular video as we go through some of the more medium term, medium and short term, let's say. So with that in mind, we can just jump right in the charts right in over here and starting off with the weekly time frame. We introduced you yesterday to our new friend Senor Bing and Mr. Bong, and well, what does that essentially mean? It means that losing the median on the weekly HPDR bands did beget that test to the bottom side of the blue 50% of historical returns range low on that weekly time frame as well. That would be Bing and that would be Bong, and now it is bouncing up from that region as you would expect. And actually from this particular setup right here, we would expect Bitcoin to retest the median on the HPDR bands on the weekly time frame before any sort of major decision is made, meaning either a breakout to the upside or a breakdown to the downside, like obviously. But the real question is, where will the median come in around? Because as of right now, it is 47,205 on the weekly time frame, and with each and every passing weekly closure, that will come down very likely and very severely. I suspect that in just a couple weeks here, it'll probably be close to $44,000. So very likely Bitcoin is poised for just an overall bounce from this region. As we've been saying, is likely. If we go down here to the daily, I believe that this also corroborates the overall story, as you do see that Bitcoin was closing below the bottom side of actually even the 61.8% of historical returns range lows, alongside declining volatility represented by HPDRV and even the HPDRO showing directional volatility starting to tick up here. So it is bounce time, especially once you start to see, these closures back inside the blue range. It's very likely to, in the more near term, test somewhere around that median, which is 41,739. So in the coming, probably less than a week from now, maybe in the coming few days, we do see an attempt somewhere around 41,700 or so. Doesn't mean in the very, very short term, Bitcoin, can't retest lows. That's not really the concern here. Bitcoin very, very likely to, to retest that region before anything else, like not making new lows or nothing like that. In fact, I do think that Bitcoin does have a nice low in here for right now. Is it the low? Very unlikely very fucking unlikely in my opinion. But fair enough. Anyways, so yes, we do see volatility, we do see directional volatility, we do see historic returns kind of all playing off of each other right there. And yeah, most likely to retest that region, I would say in the coming days, the coming few days, realistically. But to get back on a topic here with GBTC, I want to bring you over to a chart of GBTC and talk a few things about this chart first and foremost. So if we go over here to the monthly time frame, just like Bitcoin on spot price action, you have one massive shooting star dildo in your face, which is being rejected at the 786 fib here, and is essentially the first monthly topping behavior that we've seen on Bitcoin since last cycle. I mean, it's been a very, very long time. On the monthly GBTC chart, we can see that really even the last swing that we've even seen on GBTC was basically December of 2022 on the macro low thus far. So, for the people who think that the selling is over and it's time to go up because reasons that are just fucking subjective and like, it's just... It makes me laugh, but it also makes me cry. It's like, how the fuck do what? What? What the fuck did I just hear? Where do people just deduce these fucking things? And it's like, oh, that's the only thing going on in the market. Just a very, very clear black and white thing over here. Not subjective at all. My interpretation is 100% correct. And that's it. That's it. GBTC stops selling and no one else can sell after that. No one else is allowed to. It's like, what the fuck? Does no one even think about these things? No, of course people do. It's like, if you're tuning into content like this, I'm guessing that you are, and I guess probably a lot of other people do as well. But people need to make narrative, because narratives make sense out of things that actually don't really make all that much sense. Price doesn't need to make sense, to be honest with you. You will drive yourself fucking crazy trying to make sense out of price, and I can assure you of that after doing this for, I think, like 15 years now. Anyways, in this case, yeah, after getting rejected at 786 on a major monthly reversal dildo right there. You know, we haven't even seen Bitcoin test any of the major fibs to the downside just yet. So is the low end? I think it's very fucking unlikely, as we've been going over many, many times. Am I macro bearish here? Fuck no. No, I think Bitcoin's in for like a 2 to 3 month correction, and then you see some upside into the end of the year, something like that. But looking at it right here, why is this even relevant? Why am I bringing it up at all? Look at the correlation coefficient. Since the dawn of time for GBTC and Bitcoin, it's basically 90% or more correlated. If we go to the weekly time frame, basically the same thing. Yeah, there's a few one-offs here and there where they kind of decorrelate for like a week or two, but they quickly revert back into each other, you know, essentially following each other yet again. So, you know, is GBTC selling over? It doesn't fucking matter. They're both coming down. They're both very likely to come down. Maybe one comes down a little bit more for pound, but it doesn't really matter, man. Or at least I don't think it matters that much. This would appear to be the more likely thing to be happening. Anyways, going into it and explaining a little bit more with statistics and just kind of history, there does seem to be another just on topic here of like why the correction is very unlikely over right now. Because for in the short term, yes, in the short term, Bitcoin likely bounces, trades sideways, probably takes some time into February at least, like middle of February, I'd imagine, would be this. So for Bitcoin, through each and every passing cycle, there seems to be like a flavor of the cycle type correction that typically plays out. For this current cycle, we've seen, you know, a 20%-ish correction in terms of percents, but the timing of that has been about 63 days over here again, and then 21 days over here. For reference, from Bitcoin's high to where this current week is at, it's been 14 days. It will be 14 days at the end of this week. So it'd still be it'd still be an outlier even on the lower end. Realistically, it's probably somewhere in between 63 days and 21 days. If I had to guess, probably somewhere around 40 to 50 before Bitcoin does find its low, which would put us into basically, you know, mid/end of February. I do think for a much more higher probability targeted region in terms of timing. If you go all the way out for 63 days, I would put Bitcoin low sometime around like first week of March or second week of March. So something like that, you know, I still think is rather likely here. But again, going throughout history, you can validate this yourself, you know, going back on over here, out of this correction, 20%, 21%, 14 days, 21 days, you know, very similar. We got 14 days right there, 7 days, 14 days yet again, all around the same, you know, 30%-ish correction. We go back to the prior cycle in 2017. Again, all around like 21 to 28 days. Well, we have a 14-day one right there, but you know, 30, 34%, 35%, 31%, all the way through. We can even go another cycle before that. Again, right here, 35 days, 42 days, both 48 and 46% corrections respectively. And then 49 days, 35 days, 56 days. So all around each other and all around 50% corrections. So you're probably yelling at your screen right now and saying, Krown, but what the fuck, man? We've already seen a 20% correction. And fair enough. Yeah, we actually have seen a 21% correction from high to low thus far. But in terms of timing, this one would be like very short and compared to all the other ones going on here. So again, just thinking in terms of likelihood, I don't think that the lows are in as of right now. The only way that I revert that view is the same criteria that I've been saying for the past few weeks here, which is Bitcoin back above $46,000. Can I be wrong about this? Yeah, absolutely. That is an opinion. That is a subjective opinion. My opinion is that that's unlikely to happen. These statistics are, you know, as they are. The probabilities are as they are, although we haven't really gone too much in them into this video. I would actually suggest watching yesterday's video if you're interested in all of those things, as I put together more of a high-term time frame view for that. But for right now, you know, bounce is certainly more likely. It's probabilistically speaking a lot more likely. Anyways, is there anything else that I want to get into as of right now? You know, just a reminder here again from cycle to cycle, coming into the pre-halving correction. You know, Bitcoin's at minimum tested the 236 fib coming off of a rejection of basically the 50% level on a closing basis. You can see it all you know, through all these cycles, you know, fails to close above the 50% and rejects right there. Takes about, let's actually measure this one out, from rejection to next higher low, 77 days. We go to this next one over here. Again, rejection at the 50%, comes down to the 236, and this one takes 63 days to put in the next, you know, macro higher low. And then if we go to this one over here, this one's probably going to take longer because there was maybe a black swan in the name of Rona, but rejection right at the 50% level comes down. This one, again, comes down a little bit harder, but, you know, to that next major low, actually 259 days. But still, all of them being around a 40% correction. You know, to put that into context right now, again, Bitcoin's had a 21% correction, and it's been less than 14 fucking days. It's been less than 14 fucking days, and all of the other ones have taken, you know, a couple months basically at minimum to put in that next macro higher low. So, and also, you know, all of these have come down to the 236. Before putting in that macro higher low. I think just personally, that sounds like a pretty fucking deep retracement over here. I think it sounds like it'd be unlikely, but maybe you get a quick wick down there. Maybe World War III starts or something like that, or a nuke goes off. Who the fuck knows? Hopefully not, man. Hopefully not. That'd be awful. That'd be much worse than anything that can happen to your magic, our beautiful and beloved magic internet corns. But for right now, you know, something like this, maybe bounces here short term, sets it up for like a February breakdown. That's probably most likely still. It's a selling over. In the short term, yeah. In the long term, unlikely, no. Above $46,000, sure. My sort of opinion on that is certainly wrong. But until then, just another reminder that this new narrative, I think, is just that, a narrative which is more than likely to lead people astray down towards the truth here. Just also on a different note, let me pull up a different chart. I didn't really plan for this, but might as well get into it. I don't even know if this is going to be correct, but I'm assuming that we don't even have bullish divergence on any meaningful time frame here, like daily and above for Bitcoin. And what do you know? We certainly do not have bullish divergence just yet for Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be expecting any major, certainly not macro low without bullish divergence on a daily minimum. For reference, all of the macro lows that we've seen thus far for this cycle have been on bullish divergence on the daily. I'm sure if we go to the past ones as well, you probably do have it. If I go all the way back there, do I want to do this right now? Yeah, you got some right there. Okay, so that's last cycle. Do we have some over here coming off of this low? Yes. And do we have some for this one? Yes, also yes. So fair enough. Yeah. Again, my point is that probably unlikely to see it until that happens. But in the near term, you know, if I could guess what's going to happen, you're going to see Bitcoin bounce at least 41,700. Probably even goes for a little bit more than that. I do think it at some point, like I said, it will test very likely the weekly median, but that will come down probably towards 44,000 in the next week or two. And then it's game on from there. So, yeah, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. As always, I want to wish you the best. Another fun one, and forgot to say, if you find this content valuable, please consider liking and subscribing, and spread the narrative of GBTC selling. It's really, really good. It's fucking beautiful, man. You gotta love these markets. All right, that's enough shit talk for today. As always, wish you the best, even the GBTC sellers out there as well. With that said, take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.